Hug, nudge, shove and smack. When it comes to changing behaviour for the better, we need to ask ourselves, what's the best way to give somebody a helping hand? This is a question the human race have been asking for centuries. As it turns out, there are 4 main ways to help somebody positively change their behaviour. These 4 ways are encapsulated in a model developed by Jeff French, that's me by the way, called the Social Marketing Value or Cost Exchange Matrix. The method we should choose to help somebody change depends on 2 things. First, is the behaviour an active or a passive behaviour? That is the person consciously aware about what they're doing, or is it a subconscious habit? The second issue is, will a positive reward or a negative reinforcement approach be the most effective? To walk through this model, let's consider a friend called Henry who wants to eat less sugar. Let's assume that Henry never means to eat sweets, but he does it automatically while he's at work in his office. Henry wants to lose some weight, so wants to eat fewer sweets. If we select a shove approach, we could simply remove all the sugary snacks from Henry's office. He does not have to make an active choice to eat less sweets, he simply can't get access to them. So he eats less. A shove can be applied by restricting choices. There is a slight short-term cost to Henry in that he does not get to the pleasure of a sugar rush from the sweets that he hasn't eaten, but in the long run he gains health benefits and esteem benefits from colleagues. If we select a nudge approach, we can make the healthier choices easy and rewarding. In Henry's case, this could mean making sweets harder to find in the office, but also making greater tasting healthier choices more available. We are not asking Henry to think too hard about making a healthy choice, we're just making it easier and rewarding to do so. Now, let's assume that Henry wants to have a good think about making the choice to eat less sweets by actively considering the costs and the value of selecting a healthy choice. In this case, we can use a smack or a hug approach. If we select a smack approach, then Henry receives a penalty whenever he eats sweets. We might do this by charging more for sweets, or if they're free in Henry's office, we ask a colleague to use a sweet jar fine approach every time Henry reaches for a sugary snack. If we select a hug approach, then Henry is instead rewarded for making healthier choices. Again, this might mean making healthier choices free, or a colleague might monitor Henry and give him some money, presents or praise when he makes a good healthy choice. As you can see, we have a range of options available to us. No doubt you can think of some examples in your own life too of these 4 approaches. Normally in social marketing, we will want to use a mixture of these approaches based on our understanding of behaviours and the people we are trying to help.
Now let's look at an example from a real experiment funded by ECA and conducted by QUT recently.
We conducted 2 studies where we simulated electricity demand decisions in a computer-based experiment. We were looking at the best way to encourage customers to shift electricity demand away from peak demand periods. In our first study, we looked at students and the effect demand shifting has on the cost of energy in general. We found that a shove, i.e. restricting energy use, was the best option. In the second study, we looked at the general public and focused on the risk of a blackout if customers do not shift demand. We found that in this scenario, a clear communication of consequences achieved high levels of pro-social, demand-shifting behavior. Additional instruments like small rewards, hugs, or small price increases at peak time, SMECs, do not offer much of an additional benefit. In fact, over time, shoves and smacks ended up having unintended consequences of increases of demand at peak demand periods.